I'm not sure.
2 minutes yet.
How's your day? Well, this is the best time of the year. It's nice and warm in here.
It is nice in here.
On the shovel.
I put a sweater on because I didn't know, well, I guess we better be, morning Glenn, better be careful. I keep getting these messages from across the street that the heat is out, electricity is off, the heat is out, the heat's back on, the electricity's off.
Is that across that street?
City
or
auditorium.
across your street or home?
City auditorium.
Oh.
I don't know what's going on with that furnace over there, but yesterday at 10 o'clock there wasn't any heat yet, so.
Is that whole building run off one furnace?
I think so.
When do you know? I think so, but I'm not sure.
It's,
You heard? Or the operative board is old.
that's right, that's the city building, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Here I am chastising it and
Okay, how much rent are we collecting on that?
nothing, and that's about what it's worth, no.
I'll remember that line.
Well,
It
they're
is
out of the
9
wind.
o'clock.
They're out of the wind anyway, right?
It is 9 o'clock.
Yeah, let's move on.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is Tuesday, December 10th. It's 9 a.m. and time for our weekly Cottington County Board of Commission weekly meeting. We'll open the meeting with a pledge. I think it's Brenda's turn this week to start.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Brenda.
Yep, thank you.
Housekeeping as usual. If you have a cell phone, please silence it or turn it off. And if you do get a call during the meeting, please step out into the rotunda area and take the call so you don't disrupt the meeting. Also, this meeting is being streamed live, so if you address the board, you will more than likely be on the live stream. Just a heads up so you know that that's happening. Is there anyone in the audience this morning that would like to address the board with a concern or issue or comment? If so, we certainly want to give you time to do that. It wouldn't be anything that we could vote on because it is not on the agenda, but we would certainly like to hear from you and allow you the time to express your concerns or whatever. I see none. With that, is there any items on the agenda that you would feel as a conflict of interest for the board members?
No.
All right, then I'll
make
take a motion to approve the agenda.
Second
Motion by Hatton, a second by Van Duzen. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Minutes of
Move to
December 3rd
approve
meeting.
as emailed.
Second.
Motion by Hatton, second by Wanderman. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We're going to go right into the monthly reports, and we'll start right out with extension. And we got double trouble here today. We got double jeopardy here. So come on up, Becky. Come on up too.
Took a while trying to cut these.
Court day.
On.
All right, well, good morning. Just want to let you know I wrapped up junior achievement last week in 3rd grade at McKinley, discussing our city, so lots of volunteers are going around the schools with junior achievement right now, so I love to go into the classroom to work with those 3rd graders. Yesterday I started Clover Buds in Florence, and I had about 11 kids there yesterday and 9 today, so about 20 kids in Florence, and it may grow by the time I get out there after school today. So I'll be starting Clover Buds. And then Waverly South Shore on Wednesday and Watertown on Thursday, and then next Monday I go to Henry. So kind of cover the county with 5, 6, and 7-year-olds. I did get asked to come to Aero Prep, and that's 3, 4, and 5-year-olds at Aero Prep. So I'm going to go there once a month on Wednesdays when I have Clover Buds. So I start there this Wednesday, so that'll be kind of interesting. We're working a lot on Farm Show right now and getting our with our lunch counters. We have 3 lunch counters for the 4-H leaders, and that's one of our biggest fundraisers. So, and then I'm working with our state fair committees right now to work on plans for next year's state fair and state competitions. So it just kind of goes right around the corner again. But speaking of last year's, I want to congratulate Allie Fisher, who is Charlie's granddaughter. She just made with one of her art exhibits, she made the National 4-H calendar. So they just can be purchased now on our 4-H mall. And so her picture actually is on the front cover of the book, of the calendar. So we knew right away that her tiger made it, so.
Well, that's just a little side note, or my feelings is that was an affirmation of the judges, both local and at the state level, because it was elevated to a purple ribbon status, and also bragging a little bit about our grandkids, which we all like to do.
Yeah, it was a big photo too. It just fit in my car perfect when I took it to state fair.
Apparently she got the talent from her grandmother, right?
This is the 3rd year in a row where
Yes.
she's gotten.
She's been in the national calendar 3 times now. So.
Be sure to congratulate her for us if we don't get a chance to do it ourselves.
Yeah, it was a great picture. I think one of the reasons that our theme this year was Go Wild for 4-H, and I kind of maybe helped her out with that idea too. So went in her 4-H booth too. So anything? And then you had that thing that we signed yesterday.
Yesterday, well, I'll back up just a little bit. Earlier in the week, Al Jansen had contacted me in reference to, if you recall, Memorial Day and a day or so before.
Veterans Day.
Veterans Day, not Memorial Day. Veterans Day, the group from Canada was here, and they put up the Canadian Wall, and anyway, they participated in the Veterans Day ceremony out at the Extension Center. And there's a gentleman that's doing a documentary on that group of individuals that came down to the United States, enlisted and served in the Vietnam War. Anyway, excuse me, anyway, this individual was doing a documentary and needed to have a location release form signed, and Al asked if I could do that, and I said, yeah, I would do that. So I went out, and Jody and I, no, mostly Jody, I just said, this is what I need, and Jody did it for me. We signed this release, and I did get a message back from him last night, and he thanked us for doing the work and getting it back to him so quickly, and that he would give us a documentary when he finishes up, so we'll be able to view what he's done. So here's the letter that was sent, and I'll pass it around. You can read it if you wish. But that was the process that we went through, and so that was taken care of. Basically, all he did is take pictures of the inside. Well, during the Veterans Day ceremony, he was videoing, and at the inside of the building, so that was what this really was. He had to have a release in order to do the documentary of what building it actually was. And that was it. Everything had Jody?
I just printed it and Myron signed it. So
then the other thing, I asked Becky to come in today. Becky and I have been back and forth communicating in reference to a request by her, and I think it's a legitimate request. I've always wondered about it, about having service dogs only in the Extension Center, and especially during the farm show. I've been out there for years and years and years, and I see people bring their pets, their dogs, their cats, or whatever out there, and there's bulls, there's cattle running all over, or not running all over, but being led all over, and I always have been fearful of somebody getting hurt. Anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Becky, and Becky has some examples of some signs and some ideas on where we should put them and so on, and we thought we'd better run it by the commission here so everybody's on the same page. Go ahead, Becky.
good morning.
Thank you. Introduce yourself so the press will know who you are.
I'm Becky Goins. I'm the office coordinator out at the Extension Complex. Along with Myron, Jody and I have always also had concerns over the years about animals being out there, especially during not just the farm show, but achievement days as well. We've got different livestock out there and different animals. But how this has come about lately is we've been receiving some complaints about dogs being brought out there to various events in the extension complex, animals that aren't necessarily trained or well-mannered out there. We've had this come about a couple times lately. We've also had our staff had to clean up after these dogs who apparently aren't housebroken. So I think maybe it's time that if we can consider having something where just service dogs only can be allowed in the complex for safety reasons as well as sanitary reasons.
And we've gotten some calls on it too from the public, so it's not that we came up with this is because of complaints from the public that have been at these other events.
Is this a big issue? I mean, I guess I wouldn't think about bringing my dog to the...
It's not a huge issue, but it is an issue. It does happen probably more often than you realize. And one of the concerns we have is you bring your dog and you bring your dog if they don't like each other. And animals, if they're not familiar with farm animals, during Achievement Days, we have chickens and rabbits. Dogs don't like chickens and rabbits.
And when we have our 4-H dog program, the first meeting is keeping all dogs away from each other, and then they're trained dogs then, they get trained on agility and obedience and things too.
They're
so-
primarily outside.
Yeah, and they're mostly outside. Yeah, it's been a long time since, usually when it's a bad weather, we cancel now. We haven't had them to come in lately,
This is
so.
this is a growing problem, Becky. I mean, it's not
Not in leaps and bounds, but it does seem to be
Growing
occurring
a little bit from when it first started.
more often, yes.
Okay.
So Cindy, what would be the process to implement something like this?
Well, the board would have to adopt a policy
Okay.
and then authorize the posting of whatever kind of signs. I'm trying to remember where I saw a sign yesterday. I should have looked closer
I did
at
do
it.
some research, and I found a couple different signs that are available to us, and I did some research online with the U.S. Department of Justice and the ADA requirements and what we can or can't do as far as allowing service dogs in the facility. So I did do some research on that
So
as
do we
well.
want to say service dogs or service animals?
Service dogs, because where I read that only dogs are recognized as service animals
Okay.
under the
That's
ADA.
correct.
Somebody did
you'd say
something
either
smart
one.
anyway.
What's that?
You'd be safe saying either one. Just if a service animal is always a dog.
And the signs say no pets, service animals specifically.
The signs say service animals, but if you look under ADA, it says only dogs are recognized.
Have you
Get a certificate for it.
been in contact with neighboring counties?
Yeah,
They
she
have-
has been in contact with Minnehaha and Brookings.
And
County.
Brookings, they don't have anything in place.
Okay.
Are we talking about two separate issues, though? I mean, because to me, it seems like the one issue is no pets allowed, and then you have the service animals issue, which I think is separate than somebody bringing their pet JoJo.
To my knowledge,
the
none of the
extension
animals
building.
brought in have been service animals. They're just pets.
Yeah. So I think if we came up with a policy that said no pets allowed, wouldn't that cover pretty much what we're looking at doing here?
Well,
I
we
think so.
we don't want to eliminate the service animals.
We can't.
Well, we can't, by law, we can't limit the service animals, but a service animal
Something
is
to
not
address- some kind of
a pet, it's a
policy
service
to
animal.
address both issues
Yeah.
in one.
Specify it.
Would be the
Just
best.
say no
Service
pets.
animals will be allowed,
Yeah.
but no.
Yeah, no
Doesn't
pets allowed,
service animals
service
come with a certificate from their doctor or?
Not necessarily.
required.
Okay.
They are not required to provide documentation because you can obtain that just off the internet. I can go get one for my dog. So anybody can get one, so you're not required to do that. There's 2 questions that you can ask when somebody brings a dog in. And there's the 2 questions that I found are, is the dog a service animal required because of a disability? If the answer is yes, what work or task has the dog been trained to perform? Not what disability,
That
what
goes
dog.
exactly with what we
Yeah.
learned at our election training. We had disability, people talking to us on what's allowed, and that's exactly what they said also.
So, yeah, we'd have to train our staff on what we can or can't do because we cannot require identification, we can't require the dog perform the task, we can only ask those 2
Right,
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the only reason you could not allow that service animal in is, it says here, is if the dog is out of control and the handler can't control it, or if the dog is not housebroken.
So
Those are
to
the only-
proceed and keep the thing going here,
Yeah.
would the board be in agreement? We can't vote on anything in that area right now, but be in agreement if, Jody and Becky, would you be willing to develop a policy, put a policy together?
Absolutely.
And bring it back to the board for our approval? And we'll go that way, and then it'll be official?
We can do
Is that
that.
all right?
Yeah.
How about the board? Is everybody agreeable? Everybody agree to that?
Wording is so important on this. As a little caveat, I did have a guy bring in, and he pulled it out of his pocket, a snake.
Oh,
Said this is his service.
Well, I think that it's probably not reinventing the wheel. Other counties
Oh,
would
I'm
have a
sure
copy
there's
of a
something.
policy, or there should be some policies online. that
well,
you
and
can
that's what I
mirror.
tried to do beforehand, and I couldn't find one.
Even-
But there is a difference between a therapy dog and a service dog. We're talking about service dogs here.
Shouldn't this policy be applicable to all county buildings?
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say,
Also-
that's the thing, like, there, you couldn't find anything, just even on public buildings in general.
No, but we can ask Becky to help us out too. Once
Yeah.
we get something drawn
Sure.
out,
Yeah,
we'll have
that'd be
Becky
good.
take
That'd
a
be
look
good.
at it before we bring
Definitely.
it to you.
Good idea.
Yep,
All right.
Just to bring it to your attention.
right. Thank you.
Jody, anything else?
No, that's,
All right. The evaluation for Jody is due the end of January, and I will have that done and bring it out for you to review. We'll sit down and go over that.
Yeah, and I guess sent back to Amber. I think they only sent it to me and you, I think,
Yeah, I forwarded it to
Yeah.
and the memorandum of understanding.
the MOU I've got on the board, on the agenda to be approved.
Supposed to go back to
next Tuesday.
Amanda
Okay.
this year. She hasn't been in the loop before.
Amber?
Amber.
Amber.
No, it was someone else before last year. It was,
She was
Donna.
our last, oh, Donna.
Donna
She's-
somebody.
Donna.
Yeah, Donna,
Yeah,
she's not no longer with us now,
Okay,
so.
and then also next year, we will be, have on the agenda the approval of the agreement with SCSU
Okay.
in reference to the split in your salary and so on, so we'll
Next
take care of
Tuesday,
that next
yeah.
week.
Okay.
Thank you, ladies. All right, let's go on, Weed Supervisor Steve. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning.
Morning, Steve.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Weeds have been pretty well taken care of, I think. It's gotten cold enough. Well, this past month and so I had finished attending some of the district meetings around the state in the southern part, and also assisted with the highway department and packing for some of the roads. Assisting staff at the extension building for some setup and cleanup of a couple events, and also setting up for the farm show. We've got the gates set up in the back and some of the boards and some wood chips in. Currently, he's kind of waiting for wood chips from Rainbow, which will probably be later in the month. I attended the safety conference this past month, which, of course, like it is, some speakers are, pretty good, and some speakers are, well, so-so. But the main speaker this year was pretty good. I had seen him before, and it's really good to probably pick up off what he had done before, and it really makes you think of how involved people are at work and get them involved and stuff like that. So that was one of the things that I picked up off of that. Also had a few snow removals that we did out at the extension building. It hasn't been enough here to come to the courthouse to blow any snow yet with the skid steer. So hopefully we keep that to a minimum this year, right? And the other thing is a weed board meeting planned for tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 at the extension building. We will going over this past year I'll be going over this past year with the weed board on the spraying stuff. Also, we'll be planning for our annual meeting. This year, the preset, usually I have it the last Friday of February. Well, that happens to be Ash Wednesday this coming year, so we probably have to try to look at...
Last Wednesday?
Yes.
You said Friday.
Oh, excuse me, last
Wednesday,
Wednesday.
okay.
Last Wednesday usually of February, but we'll probably have to reschedule because it is Ash Wednesday this coming year, so. That's about all I have. Any questions?
How are accounts receivable doing for?
Currently, I've got 3 more to collect from. 3 more townships, yep.
Okay.
I probably will, I'm assuming I'll receive 1 tomorrow. They are on my weed board, so I'm assuming he'll bring the check in for that one. The other 2, if I don't get something here shortly, I'm gonna send a statement out to them
Sure.
and stuff to remind them.
Yeah, and their township meetings should be starting to roll around here. Actually, their year doesn't end until the end of February, which is...
Correct, but usually they have to have a meeting, it's usually set the last of October or somewhere in October, but yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Steve? Anything else? All right, Steve, thank you.
Thank you.
Steve
Thanks,
Warren.
Steve.
Shauna, Director of Equalization. Good morning, Shauna.
Good morning, Shauna.
Morning.
Morning. We are currently and will be for the next couple months working on getting what we call our year-end stuff ready, getting all of our new values put in, finishing up the reappraisal values, any building permits, and any program things. We're just working on getting everything put in the system so that we can send out assessment notices beginning of March into February.
Okay. Questions for Shauna? Building permits, are they up?
Well, our count is a little different than like what the county and the city have, because we have some stuff that we have to go to twice, at the end of the year. But, I don't know if they're really up very much or not. I know
Revenue-wise,
still quite a bit.
Revenue-wise, they are up, and that's basically
With
due to
wind
the
towers.
wind
That's what I was going to ask you, with the wind
Yeah.
towers,
Yeah.
how does that work with those building permits? Because those assessments still go to the farmer. So
We don't do anything with wind towers.
Okay.
All we're doing in our office is putting in a code in the computer on the parcels that have them, so we'll be able to find
Just
out
so
where
you
they
know
are,
where they
but
are.
we don't assess them whatsoever.
Right.
So.
I didn't figure that you did. I just wondered how you documented that, so, okay.
Yep.
Anything else for Shauna? All right, thank you, Shauna.
Thanks, Shauna.
All right, Auditor, Cindy, it's you got a whole bunch of inputs in your packet today. Go ahead.
Basically, we are also working on year-end procedures, monitoring budgets. Have heard from the Department of Revenue that our levies are approved. There's just one more piece of documentation I need to send them, and we should be good to go there. So that's basically, I will be out of the office tomorrow and Thursday to attend an executive board meeting in Pierre.
All right. And in your packet, there is the fund cash balance reports, and I appreciate Cindy doing this. It kind of gives us a snapshot view of where we're at today, at the current time. Any questions for Cindy? Okay, thank you. Let's go on then to number 7, then action to approve the auditor's account with the treasurer and note the register deeds fees. And that's in your packet as well.
This is just a list of the cash and cash items on hand as of the last business day in November. Shows you what we counted, shows you the revenue that we collected in the month of November that will go to the schools, the townships, the cities and towns for their property tax collections.
Motion
And
to
then we
approve.
note, sorry, we note the register of deeds fees in the amount of $36,055.40 in the month of
Motion
November.
to approve.
Motion by Hatton.
I'll second it.
Second by Van Duzen. Any questions? Sorry to cut in on you.
Oh, it's fine.
Any questions at all? Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Rick, you want to come on up for number 8, action to authorize the chair to sign a voluntary right-of-way donation form. And you have the information on where that's at and why. Go ahead.
Good morning.
morning.
This is on County Road 4. This is a bridge that's going to be replaced. There's 2 landowners, one on each side of the road. We have a signature from one, and hopefully we'll have the signatures from the other one sometime this week.
And this is a voluntary right-of-way, so that means no money is exchanging hands. Occasionally, we have had where we've had to pay for a right-of-way donation, but in this instance, we do not.
Yeah, both sides, it's just a minimal amount of property that's going to be used, because most of it's already water. So,
Did you say that's County Road 4?
yes.
Motion to approve that.
Second.
We have motion by Hatton, second by Commissioner Waterman. Any discussion? Are those
Yeah, and I will have you sign them, and then we'll be keeping them here until the property owners show up too, so. And what it is, it's an authorization to, motion to approve, authorize you to sign for the county.
And that,
You've heard the motion and the second. Any other questions? Any questions?
So this differs from like an easement, I mean,
Correct.
it's a full donation and comes out, okay.
just that we need to access their property to
Right.
do the work that we need to do, basically, so it's just short term.
Any other questions? Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you. Anything on 2020? Brenda?
Well, that's something, I have
We're on
been
number
in,
9, actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's cell phone
Oh,
stipends.
telephone stipend. I have jumped ahead here. All right, in your packet, you've got a list of all of our employees that receive a telephone stipend, and I was just briefly going through it. There are 16 in the highway department that have telephone stipends, 8 in the sheriff's department, 3 detention center, 5 in the equalization, and I know that we have been talking about this in the past, but if we're going to let them continue that, we need to get this done for the end of the year.
I'll make a motion that we approve this. I have been in contact with Terry Satterley. Well, I'll wait for comments after.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Hatton, second by Gable. Any discussion?
So yes, this is something that, you know, we need to probably take a look at. We'll wait till Terry comes back, because it is actually it wasn't listed as one of the new items in the contracts, but it is in those, yes, it is in those union contracts. So
okay.
that's something that we wouldn't be able to change for 2020 at this point anyway, so.
Yeah, and we also need to give time.
Right.
If we're going to make an adjustment, give time to the employees.
Yeah, there will be a process that we follow.
Currently, our monthly, we pay 41 monthly cell phone stipends for $1,250 a month, coming to $15,000 a year.
Yeah. So just so people know what we're talking about here is, so for 2020, we're approving these stipends in fairness to the employees and the contracts that we have, but also, given the fact that cell phone services have changed and a lot of us get, unlimited call, unlimited data for a reasonable price. These stipends, or the policy that governs these stipends dates back to before that time, when cell phones were sometimes you paid for it by minute, and the contracts were not as straightforward as they are now.
Thank you, Lee. Did Rick and Shawnee understand why we're going to review those? Simply because that, the cell phone plans have changed since a lot of these have gone into. All right.
Well, and one thing that we need to look at when we do that is the essential employees and who has cell phones
Yes.
and why they need them if
There will
we're paying
be-
those stipends.
Yeah, there will be some criteria that will be followed. It doesn't mean they're going to go away, it just may be adjusted, so.
Can I say one thing or no? The reason that we're doing the stipends is because we used to, in our office, I don't know about you, but we actually used to have our own cell phones through the county. And so then the county actually paid for the cell phones, and it was way cheaper to do a stipend than it was for the county to actually pay for cell phones. So, I mean, I know my office has it more for safety reasons, and so we can call and get a hold of the girls when they're out, but that's why they started going to stipends for the ones that weren't here, of course, because the county actually paid for cell phone plans, and back then it was ridiculous.
Well, and I think your office would be a good example of somebody that may need to have that stipend, because you're your employees are out in the field working, they're probably utilizing their phone for county business.
No,
But
I'm just saying why we went to the stipend.
Right.
The ones that weren't
Just give us some
used,
history.
we actually
Right.
paid Sprint for the phones, and
yeah,
it saved me a lot of money going to these stipends.
so we'll have to evaluate that.
Yeah, and that's exactly why we want to evaluate it, because, you know, some departments are doing that, and it's working well, so. All right.
So we have a motion
We have a
and a second
motion and
to
a second to approve the stipend as
And
we
this
have
is-
in the past.
Yeah, and this is a requirement of Department of Legislative Audit. They want to see a list in our minutes of who's getting paid monthly and how much.
All right, any more discussion? Any more discussion? Anything else? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. All right, let's go on to number 10 then, discussion of the 2020 legislative session issues. And Lee has been kind of inviting some of the legislators to attend our meeting and having an opportunity for us to inform them of what we do and maybe catch up on what they're looking at as the legislative session rolls around, and put a name with a face or a face with a name and so on. So go ahead, Lee.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this item is on the agenda for this week and next week. All the legislators that can come are going to come next week. So today was, for whatever reason, was a bad day for pretty much everybody. But so maybe I'll keep this really quick and just hit some of the issues that I think, that we can bring up, and then they'll have some other ones next week. And this is a conversation that's taking place a lot among, different elected officials. At the local level, and some of us have been talking to legislators already. But anyway, just a couple of county-related ones. And the first couple are specific resolutions or pieces of legislation that I happen to know are in the works. And then there's another slide of just some things I've been hearing about what might become legislation. So this is one that started here. This one on the first slide a resolution to minimize taxpayer costs when funding county infrastructure construction. So as people know, the counties, when they have to build something, you have to use property tax. So the idea of this legislation is to give voters the authority to approve a half-penny sales tax when the county wants to build something, and the basic reason to do that, and I've been over this one before because it started in this county. The basic reason to do that is that it would save a lot of money because it would shorten the term of the bond in a lot of counties, Cottington County included. So in the case, say, if we were talking about our jail, for example, which was I want to say it was just under $19 million, the ask of the voters for property tax. If that had been done with sales tax, with a half-cent sales tax, we would have shortened the term of that to under 10 years, and then you save all that financing cost. So something like $3 to $4 million in financing over the course of the building of the course of paying for that project. And the way this would do that is the way the bill is written is you take all the revenue, all that half-cent revenue, you put it towards the debt, and you pay it off as quickly as possible. So you don't have the option like a city does with their second penny sales tax of using it however they want to. This directs a county to have to just use that half penny for that piece of infrastructure as approved by the voters. And so it takes care of it quickly, and then the tax goes away. Any questions on that? I think you guys probably know that one pretty well.
Do you have a draft bill started on that?
Yeah, I do have a draft bill. I got it a couple days ago. So that one's Representative York forwarded that to the LRC, Legislative Research Council. So I got the draft. I think I got it Friday night. So it's very similar to Senate Bill 65 from last session. There's a few minor differences, but it's very similar. So I can share it with you if you're going to the meeting tomorrow for the county commissioners thing. So.
Sounds good.
Then this is another one that I know is in draft. This was not a county association resolution, but it is coming out of Minnehaha County. This is another one to help counties. So there's some legislators that really want to help counties deal with the issue of, give us alternatives to property tax, because property tax tends to be, only taxes a certain segment of our county's population, and it can be an expensive way to do things. So this is a proposal to allow counties to have 1 penny of triple B. So that's the B stands for bed, booze, and breakfast, or something like that. But
Bed, booze, and board.
Bed, booze, and board. But it deals with, yeah, I think it is breakfast because it deals with restaurants. So it's basically.
It's board. It is
It is
board.
board?
Yeah.
Okay, so, well, bed and board are, anyway.
Seem like the same thing, but
But
whatever.
anyway, so
Yeah.
the idea is you tax restaurants, alcohol, and motels and hotels. So it's, the cities currently get a penny. The idea here is to offer counties a penny. Now, this would, unlike the previous half-cent sales tax, this would, in most cases, would probably end up being a permanent tax, but most of the tax is directed at motels. And so the debate is whether or not, how much that's going to affect business in a particular place. So this would be referable in its current form. In other words, a county commission could adopt this levy, and then it would be referable, just like anything a city or a county does, by the voters. The previous one, the half-cent one, would have to go to the voters. So anyway, try to keep that straight in people's minds. But this would be dedicated pretty much for public safety, justice, law enforcement, and this could go toward operations. If it generated enough funds to bond a building, you could do that. In case people are curious about Cottington County, the city of Watertown, with their penny of triple B, is expecting to generate $970,000, I think, is what I saw in the book.
Just under $1 million, yeah.
Yeah, so that would be, and to give people an idea, if we were to stretch that to 20 years, that wouldn't quite cover the annual debt payment that we'd expected on our jail bond. So it depends on the structure, but this could be another way to bond something, but it could, the way the legislation's written, it could be used for, anything, public safety, justice, law enforcement, those kinds of things.
Cindy Heiberger did forward me that draft bill.
Yeah,
Last time
so
for
that, yeah,
review.
so for this one, yeah.
We will be discussing that one as well tomorrow.
Yeah. So, and then a couple. This is kind of a general one. It appeared in a couple forms on the County Commissioners Association resolutions. So, in general, there's not specific legislation, but it was kind of a general resolution to say counties need more help in dealing with mental health issues. There was one resolution from West River counties. Right now, all we have in the statewide is the HSC in Yankton, which is understandably difficult for West River counties. So, if there was another facility or something in West River, that would help the whole state. Other general resolutions for just more funding, more support. So this kind of thing could show up in multiple bills. You could even say that our half-cent sales tax proposal contributes to this one because there's a provision in that bill to use that funding for recidivism reduction or incarceration reduction facilities. And so this kind of thing would help reduce incarceration. So any questions on that one?
Thank you for that quick review, Lee.
That's just, I'm just asking questions.
Oh, he's
on
not
this slide.
done. I'm trying to shut him down.
I got 20 more slides.
Thank you anyway.
So, no, this is the last slide, Mr. Chairman. So these are some other vibes I've been hearing. One, I think this is coming out of a discussion in Minnehaha County. There's been a lot of talk about how the radios, the technology for radios are constantly changing. Local governments and emergency management departments are forced to keep up with it. So
It's $5.1 million in the governor's budget for that.
how much?
5.1.
So we like that. So that's good. And then there was one I thought really good idea. I think this also came from Minnehaha County. The second bullet there, eliminate the double tax. In other words, the excise tax when local governments have to build stuff. So effectively, the argument there is that that's double taxation because number one, we're taxing our taxpayers with property tax to build a thing, and then we turn around and have to pay excise tax on the materials, just like any construction project. So we're exempt from a lot of the sales tax, but not from the excise tax. And so that's a double taxation is kind of the...
And that does become quite a large amount when
Yeah.
you're doing those sorts of projects.
So you'd say for our jail, that would be a chunk of change. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars. So.
Yeah.
And then there was one that kind of just cropped up from the last session. This is one that I just kind of happened to know of, the last bullet there. Right now, there's a new law in effect that says when a county publishes their ordinances online, they have to be the most recent version. No room for error. Okay, so that means that we just gave people, I mean, the idea there, the fear there is that even typos you can have a lawsuit for a typo.
Correct.
And so that's kind of the issue. So I don't know if there's a way to write that legislation, but I'll get the bill number from last session of the statute so that we can, for next week. But the idea is that we don't want to just be creating situations where we have lawsuits for typos. But anyway, so those are the ones that I have. If you have some other ones, I can add them as we, next week I expect some legislators to be available. So.
I'll mention that last bullet tomorrow as well to the association.
Yeah, so.
It'll be good to make certain that our local legislators are informed, and I'm sure they are, but sometimes some of these things they, let slide by, and that can...
Yeah, it just helps them to be aware, and actually, there was, the idea came from Senator Schoenbeck, just contacted me and said, why don't we have a discussion now? Unfortunately, he can't make it, either one, because he ended up getting, something came up, but many other ones can, so.
So I would just like to add, this very discussion is something that our new association chair, Cindy Heiberger, would like to see all counties doing, and like we already have Myron as a point of contact to contact our legislators through the session, and that's something that's very vital for us as commissioners, that all of us would take a role and become more active. So her goal is to try to get one person at least from each board to try to be a point of contact, to stay in contact with legislators during important issues. So we're kind of already ahead of that we've had that in place for some time, but.
Okay, anything else? Right.
Just let me, Mr. Chairman, I'd just say, if you have other ideas you want me to put on a slide just so we remember to talk about them next week, then please let me know.
Will do. Very good, thank you. All right, let's go on then to number 11 on the agenda, and that's discussion possible action to proceed with the implementation of the 211 program in Cuyahoga County. Brenda, do you have anything on that?
I do. And I guess I would like to start by making a motion to proceed with this resolution contingent on that we get 3 other partners. And I guess Lisa Dahl is here, Glenn Vilhauer is here. I think we pretty much have that in place. I don't know what you other folks are going,
but yes. Second your motion.
Okay. Thank you. So,
we have a motion and a second.
I would have Lisa maybe come up.
Let's proceed with, let's take care of
what is the exact motion?
To adopt the resolution to implement.
Do we have a resolution?
I do have the paperwork. I don't have it yet, but I mean, it's contingent on the other partners.
So can we adopt, well, actually,
I guess I don't know how we go about, it's a form that we need to.
Do we have a resolution to adopt today, is my question.
Well, the motion could be
Motion is to go forward and maybe put it on the agenda for next week to adopt the resolution. How's that?
Okay, that would be
all right, we can do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That way everybody can look it over.
Yep.
So let's clarify the motion, just so everybody's on the right track. All we're doing today is approving a...
Moving forward to prepare a resolution.
Correct.
For adoption at next week's meeting.
All right, any more discussion on that?
Do you want to hear the, some of our partners, let them have an opportunity to speak on this?
Sure, you bet.
So Glenn and Lisa, would you mind coming up?
Please introduce, speak right into the mic. Please introduce yourself so the press will know who's talking. Just press the button. Glenn is familiar with that, just like back home.
My name is Lisa Dahl, and I'm the Executive Director for the Watertown Area United Way.
Glenn Vilhauer, President of Watertown City Council.
So I guess have been in conversations and with these different entities, and I believe it looks very positive that we will have our partners in place. I don't know if you guys want to speak on your behalf of your entity.
I'll just say that this was pitched to us a couple different times by Chief of Police Lee McPeak, most recently about 3 weeks ago at a council meeting, explaining the program, very favorably received by the council. We didn't take any action on it. It was just an open forum comment that he had made to us. And then most recently, I've been in touch with Mayor Karen a couple different times, and most recently, Friday, in fact, discussed this. She is totally on board with this, a contingent, again, upon having a partnership arrangement in place. And looking at it, we feel like we did not specifically budget for this in our 2020 budget, but it's one of those items that it's small enough that we can find, a line item in our budget that it would fit. And she is totally on board to the point that we feel like we don't even need to take official council action. I'm guessing at some point it will be discussed, or maybe I'll make a point of bringing it up. But we are totally on board with this as a city, as far as I'm concerned, as far as Mayor Karen's concerned.
Good, Lisa.
I think our board is pretty favorable towards it. We're looking for a commitment from the partners, and then I can bring it to our board of directors for their vote. My role has just kind of been facilitating some informational meetings. We've had one at Prairie Lakes so that people can see and understand. My understanding is some of the emergency management have had that before them as well and received a lot of information about it. I think it'll be a huge return on our investment if we can kind of get some commitments and move forward with this. And of course, the inevitable probably flooding, I think it'll come into play huge for that. So interesting thing is that we've had Scott McMahon take over the 911 call center in Minnehaha County, and the last informational meeting that we had, I guess, would have been at the Rotary Club, and that would have been on Thursday of last week, and they had said that, he didn't completely understand what 211 Helpline was and how it worked, but when they had the tornadoes in Minnehaha County, it was a huge savings on the calls that would have flooded the 911 system, and he really thinks that would have been beneficial for our community in Cottington County. So that's what I know.
Okay. Who are the other possible partners? You have the city, United Way, Cottington County. Who would be the
Prairie Lakes Hospital.
Prairie Lakes? Is that the other? Is that the
That would be number 4. So that amount, now that somebody's calling, okay. So if 4 of us go in on this, it would be $3,279.75.
Cut the four ways.
Yep.
For the
Because the total amount of our local match is $13,119.
So maybe, would you be willing to, if you need maybe Brenda or one of us to come to one of your meetings to talk to facilitate the discussion as we do it? We could do that, or we just it's ready to.
I think that if I receive word that we have commitment from the county and the city, I don't think that'll be necessary. They've come and spoke with our board of directors, so they're well aware of the program.
So today, in acting on this resolution, is that proof enough that we would go ahead with it?
I would send that information out to our board immediately so they can decide on
I
that.
think maybe would a memorandum of understanding or agreement be appropriate that has the specific amounts in it, and then we just kind of.
I kind of wondered about that as well.
Nice and cut and dried.
We'd like a 3-year commitment, basically, is what we're kind of asking for, because by then we're going to know if this is a beneficial service or not.
And since this cost might fluctuate slightly, we could just, talk in terms of proportions as opposed to specific dollar amounts, and then so.
I think that'd be a great idea.
I like the idea too, Leif. I think attendance at a council meeting, I don't think necessary, but a MOU, I think, would be a good idea, just to formalize.
All right, so
Chair, I did also receive a text from Scott McMahon. Yeah, he's advocating for 211. He says it keeps a lot of the calls out of the 911 center, like you said, Lisa, and he'd be happy to visit with us about his experience if we would like.
So we don't all get up and walk away and say, now who's going to do what?
I'll get a memorandum of understanding drawn up and get our partners to sign it, and hopefully before next week, I guess, then, because if we're going to act on this next week, we would need, I don't know if that's going to be enough time or not.
It might be pushing it a little bit.
If you have to, yeah, we can sign our part, and, honestly, I don't foresee anybody not going forward. The commitments that I've gotten, I think I feel pretty secure in that.
All right, so when you get word from Brenda, she'll be responsible for putting together the MOU. I imagine Lee will get involved in that too. That's his bailiwick, his pride, and he loves to do that. Very good. Okay, thank you for
Perfect, thank you.
participating here. Appreciate it very much. You're going to hang around, aren't you, Glenn?
What's that?
You're going to hang around the rest of the meeting? For the open, I was going to discuss that letter that we...
Oh, okay, I'll hang around.
All right, thank you. All right, let's go on then to
You have
number...
a motion and a second.
Oh, yeah, we better vote on this, baby. Any more discussion? Any more discussion? Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you, Cindy. Number 12, discussion possible action to approve a revised Memorial Park Campground Management contract. And I have not seen it. I guess it was emailed out electronically this morning, and my cell phone is laying on the desk at home, so.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I've been working on that the last several days. I asked Cindy to email it out to you, which she did this morning, so you probably have it in your email box. I would just ask for every commissioner to take a look at that and send the comments back to us. When we get it, get all those comments added, we'll send it to our state's attorney for review and move forth with it. So we're getting close, but take a look at it, please.
So we can postpone this till next week?
Just leave it on the agenda for next week.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Item number 13, action to approve claims for payment. And that's Cindy, and they're in your packet.
They are in, they have two totals this month because I did not get the information to prepare my state check until last Monday, or yesterday. So the amount that we're paying to the state of South Dakota for motor vehicle, basically the majority of it is motor vehicle collections. That's $445,710.16. The county claims amount to $296,179.54. I've just highlighted a few items. The first one, annually we receive money from the state of South Dakota for our costs for court-appointed attorneys and public defenders. I send in the amount that we've paid from July 1st of one year and through June 30th to match the state's year. And then they have a formula that they use to distribute funds across the state to counties for their costs. We got a letter from the state treasurer indicating that there was a flaw with their formula, so we are required to pay some of the money back that we received. Anyway, it's only $340.58, but that's why it's on there. I just wanted to fill you in on what that is. On page 2, you can see we are making our juvenile justice grant payment to the Boys and Girls Club per action at a meeting a couple of weeks ago. That's the money we received from the state of South Dakota for our juvenile incarceration actions in the past year. On page 3, we received an additional request for payment for the clerk program. We did have those funds available in the budget, $5,432, and that is based on higher costs from counties for criminal trials that took place.
Yeah, there was a particular, there was an additional trial.
And we did have sufficient funds left in our budget to pay that without supplementing it, so that's good. On page 4, towards the bottom, you can see the concrete project that we that you approved for over at the detention center to make some repairs. We're paying that. Let's see what else. I don't think I have anything else specific. Oh, on page 10, the emergency management budget, we are paying $1,600 to Joanne Paulson. That was for POD activities, and that we will be doing an automatic supplement later in the meeting for that payment with POD grant funds. Any other questions?
Any questions?
Second.
Motion by Gable, second by Waterman. Any discussion?
I have a couple questions, I guess. I don't know if any of you other commissioners noticed in our Care of the Poor budget, We have a bill in there from Brian's Glass and Door for a new door for $1,700. I thought at our September 24th meeting, we voted no on approving any new doors over there. I have the meeting minutes. We had a discussion about this security door project. We went into executive session. We came out and we all voted no.
What page is that?
That's page
This-
6.
Page
That was
6.
for a security door we talked about at that meeting.
Yeah, I think as I recall, and I appreciate your diligence in catching this, but as I recall, the plan already was to do a new door. The question before us at that time, and correct me if I'm wrong, was whether or not to make that a controlled access door with all the machinery that goes into that, and the security equipment with the video, the ability to see who the person is back in the welfare office and buzz them in, so to speak. So I think that was just the door itself, I think, was a budgeted item from the previous year. I believe that was.
There's no, I went back, there was no specific, she's pulling it out of miscellaneous, which I guess that can be anything, but the other thing is, though, why would we spend $1,700 on a building we do not own and we're simply paying rent? The other part of that is cutting edge tinting. Why would we tint windows over there? That was almost $1,000, $798 to tint windows. What would be the reason for that? We don't have the Veteran Service Office tinting windows, and I guess I have issue with.
I think it bears looking into, so, but I mean, these are bills that we have to pay at this point, but
Right.
I do agree that it bears understanding what's going on.
I think I would like to call an executive meeting after we get this business taken care of and include our Terry Satterley.
Any more discussion? Any more discussion? Any other comments? See none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Let's go on to number 14. Action to approve automatic budget supplements, and this is the pod grant funds that Cindy was just talking about.
And we've had a couple more come in too that we will take care of now. The search and rescue support overspent their budget, so they remitted a payment to us in the amount of $5,000. So we can use that as an automatic supplement to their budget. They did have that large charge this year for, I believe it was a drone maybe, and there was some confusion on what is budget and what is cash. So anyway, they have submitted a check to us in the amount of $5,000 so we can supplement their budget, because we're not allowed to end the year with budgets in the negative. And then we have $1,600 in pod grant funds to supplement the emergency management budget for the payment that we're making to Joanne Paulson. And we also received $9,000 for Homeland Security grant funds to supplement the emergency management budget, and that was for a new repeater. And we also received $11,983.30 to supplement the sheriff's office, also for a new repeater, and that was Homeland Security grant funds.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Hatton, second by Gable. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any comments? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Mr. Chairman.
I have,
13. Did we vote?
Good.
Did we actually vote on 13?
Yeah.
We did. Okay.
Yes, you
Sorry.
did.
We did.
Sorry.
We did, yep.
All right.
You were an aye.
action to approve the personnel changes. I have none today that
I have one.
You have one, okay?
This is for Debbie Melville, who is the accounts payable clerk in the auditor's office. She was due her step increase on October 15th. So we will be paying back pay because her department head forgot to submit this. Anyway, she'll go to step 13,
That's your department.
$20.09 per hour.
Move to approve.
Action, motion by Hatton, second by Gable. Any discussion? Any discussion?
And this is what we normally do when it's past the date, we catch up,
Yep.
yes.
Any questions? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. I have no requests for travel today. Do you have any?
I have none. That's, yep, you are at the end of.
Okay, and number 17 is a possible quorum at any meetings coming up
Is
this
there
week.
anything I should be noting? I couldn't
Yeah, we
think
have
of
a-
anything coming
Just
up
I
that,
think there's just a GOP meeting, you know.
Tomorrow.
That's it, yeah, that's it.
well, that'll be past
Yeah.
when I need to post the
Yeah.
agenda. So unless somebody can think of something that's coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, then the next item is old business. Any old business? I think that it's kind of old business, and I don't want to hold Glenn up anymore. Glenn, come on up, Glenn, will you, please? You all know Glenn. Anyway, Glenn, and the city attorney, Matt Roby, and Becky Morlock and we met here, 2 weeks ago or something like that, in reference to the memorandum of understanding or the compact between the Dakota Sioux and the county and the city and Roberts County. And anyway, we decided to pen a letter to the governor and explain our concerns about what was going on. And that's what has happened. And you want to take some insight or some things that we did, or?
Well, the reason we felt we wanted to get Governor Noem involved is the new compact that apparently we're operating under, which unbeknownst to us, the new compact they're operating under was actually put together and apparently approved by Governor Dugard's office. And we have no idea where Governor Noem's office is as far as knowledge of the arrangement. That we just felt it would be a good idea to bring her up to speed and see if there's anything that can be done. We're guessing probably not, but we thought it couldn't hurt to pen a letter and sign by the parties involved and just see what kind of reaction we get from her office.
And that letter has been put together, and it's, I guess, being circulated for signatures at this point. And that included, like Glenn said, the chair of the...
Copy of the latest draft.
Chair of the Roberts County Board of Commission, and then those that were mentioned and before. And yeah, you now have a copy in front of you of the letter. I think Cindy was also involved in this, otherwise you did get the
I was
letter.
present, yes.
Is there anything that you'd want, any questions that you would have in relationship to this letter?
I just think it's a good idea to bring her up to speed with where we're at with this and kind of get her take of what's been happening, maybe.
We did have we all had a chance to, for input into the letter, but I really want to publicly thank Matt Roby for penning the letter, and he's a good wordsmith, and that's what we needed here, and so that's what he did, and make certain that he is thanked for doing that for us.
Right. It
Okay.
definitely affects all of us, so we,
Pardon me?
it definitely affects all of us, so we
yeah.
really need to address it. And
I think the biggest frustration is, granted, we had a chance to speak at the hearing last November, I believe it was, but received absolutely no feedback from anyone subsequent to that. And all of a sudden, we understand that we're operating a new compact without any input from the parties involved.
We wouldn't have known it if we didn't get a check. It was a check that we didn't know what it was for. And that was, and the other thing that we need to find out too, we're still holding those checks.
Which we have discovered will not be cashed at this point, so it's past the point that the bank will accept them, so we will need to ask for new payments, yes. Eventually, when we get everything straightened out.
Okay, any questions? Thank you, Glenn, for hanging around and helping explain that. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Glenn.
Did raise the issue.
Appreciate the city's help and input in this project, and let's hope that we're not just talking to the wall.
No, that man had nothing else to do, so.
Yeah, that's right.
How long is that contact good for?
Until they fix it, until they do it again. I mean, it was, the reason they revised it was,
It was-
a request of the tribe to revise it in the first place.
But it was spelled out. It went, when we signed that, how many years out
Are you
was that?
talking our agreement, or are you talking the state compact? I guess I'm not
Our
sure which.
agreement.
I think it was meant to be just indefinite, I believe, because the renegotiation was based on a request from the tribe, I believe.
That was only because they said they weren't receiving the revenue. The original contract went longer. It was spelled out.
I think the original compact went through 2023, if I'm not.
I think
think
that's,
so.
I was gonna say that, but
I'm not sure what
Yeah.
the term is of the one that we're operating under now.
Yeah.
I think that, I've never seen it. Well, I guess I did, yeah, we did see,
We did get it.
you know, what they agreed with the state.
Signed draft of it.
Right. We have not ever signed anything.
No.
We have not signed anything, no.
We were still under, running
original
under
one.
the old contract
Yeah.
and the old amounts.
Because we didn't agree to the terms, basically, what they were offering, so. In a
All right.
formal manner.
Okay, good questions, and we'll see what happens when we fire this off to
Got it.
the new governor and see if anything happens. All right, any new business to bring before the board today? Any new business? Thank you, Glenn. Have a good day.
I have this contract. It went till 2022.
2022?
Yep.
That's the county's.
Counties,
Okay.
yep. MOU with them, the original.
Any new business? Seeing none, then, how about the open? Anything for the open today? The only thing I have is that Glenn and I did attend the South Dakota Retirement Board meeting this past week. The retirement fund is in good financial condition. We looked at the increase in payouts for 2021. Of course, they're all pending on what happens to the market, and the market is just up one day and down the next, and then up and then down 2 days, and it's just back and forth. And the one thing is that we are still 100% funded, so it's in very good shape, very, very good shape. Anything else?
Government affairs thing, I think that's tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning, yeah. I will be attending the South Dakota Association Executive Board meeting as well, and so going over these bills, looking at some of our resolutions and policies, and
Is that the purpose of the meeting, just to kind of final review before the session kind of thing?
plus we go over our budget for the association and also start planning for next year's workshops and conventions, so.
Okay.
Do we have a executive Republican meeting tomorrow?
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
that is
At
on.
noon.
Yep.
At noon.
Yep.
All right. Anything else? All right. I have no requests now. Did you request?
I would
executive
like
session?
to make a motion to go into executive session under discussion of personnel issues.
I'll second that.
All right. We have a motion by Hatton, second by Gable. Any discussion?
And there will
Any
be there will be
There might
nothing
be.
to vote on, no, what am I trying to say?
Action?
Action
No action
taken
taken.
after, it just, yeah, discussion.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are in executive session. Thank you.